Okay, so welcome to the first session of Research Methods. And what we want to do here is just to give you an overview of the module and to talk a little bit about where you ought to be now and next steps. And critically too, to talk about choice of topic, both in terms of idea generation and to set some parameters so that you don't end up spending a lot of time doing something that we would think would be unsuitable. Okay, so as we tried to say in the initial welcome message, this is a different type of module to ones that you may have taken previously. There is a body of knowledge which is about research methods, but in fact, most people who do this module quite sensibly do it with one eye on the dissertation, because really this is about feeding into your dissertation. What this module is about is you demonstrating that actually you are capable of doing a dissertation, and that's really what we're trying to do. You're not doing a dissertation, you're obviously not, but what you're trying to do is to demonstrate to us that you can do it. Now, what that means is that we do not want you to do any research at this stage, and we positively do not want to see any research, original research in this piece of work. There is no mark for it, and basically the fact that you do it tells us that you don't follow instructions. So we don't want to see any research, but what we do want to see is that you understand and you know how to do it, that you've got a clear research strategy that would be sensible. That's what we're looking for in this. We also as well need you to demonstrate that you understand the literature, and we use the word literature to mean theory in this context. So we talk about a literature review because you are reviewing published works, but actually those works relate to theory. So we could just as easily say that you've given us a discussion of the theory, and that's what we expect to see. In the actual dissertation, that's likely to be the biggest section, and something like 6,000–7,000 words is fairly common for a lit review, which is double the size of this assignment. So you clearly can't do a full literature review, but what we need you to do is really to do two things. First of all, to show that you have identified appropriate theory, that there is a theory underpinning what you are going to do, and secondly, that you're capable of picking up key threads and writing about it. So that's what we need you to do on this module. It isn't mandatory that the proposal that you submit becomes your dissertation, but virtually everybody does that. So it just echoes the point that I made, that when you do this, one of the things that you do need to do is to bear in mind this is a small piece of a much bigger one that you'll be doing. One of the positive things about that is that if you, for example, end up writing 6,000 words for this, and you've obviously got to trim it down by a significant amount, the probability is those 6,000, those additional 2,000 or 3,000 words could be used in your dissertation. So one of the good things about this module is that even if you massively overshoot on words and have to slash things out, the probability is that could actually go into your dissertation. So this isn't a module where if there's a 3,000 word limit, you should be thinking, right, I'm only going to write to a 3,000 limit. You could actually here write to a much bigger limit. So you could actually, if you wanted to, write a 4,000 or 5,000 word literature review and then just take parts out of it and part them. So, as I say, one of the good things about this module is because it links to the dissertation, if you do overshoot, nothing really gets wasted. And then what happens then is your proposal, once it's passed, is then circulated around, and interested tutors who got some specialist knowledge of the area will offer to supervise, and that's on the next module and is way down the tracks. Okay, so what should you be up to now? Well, it's usually about now I start getting panic emails from people saying, I can't think of anything. And it's not a major problem at the moment. The hand-in date is still the best part of 2 months away, so we don't need to worry about that too much at this stage. And I think what you need to be focusing on now are the module concepts. One of the traps that people fall into in this module is that they actually ignore the module concepts. They think, oh, I'm doing a dissertation on project management, therefore I am going to be doing a proposal on project management. And what we actually get is what's really just an essay on project management. This is, at one level, quite an easy module to do, because we give you a fairly clear steer in the marking scheme as to what we want that sets out a structure. But actually, if you are doing something on project management, what we expect is that you show that you understand the theory relating to research methods and the theory relating to project management, and the fact that you can somehow tie the two things together. So I actually don't think that what we ask people to do at one level is difficult, but conceptually it is, and a lot of students do struggle with it conceptually, just trying to squeeze everything into that tiny pot of words. And what I think we do get are people saying, actually, this is the hardest module that they did. Not because I don't think it's technically difficult, but there's a very limited word space, and it's about fitting everything together. And it's that I think that people do struggle with. And one of the critical things, to my mind, to get around that is to have really very, very clear objectives. So before you start writing, you've got to really understand what it is that you're doing. Because if you don't, then you just kind of wander and ramble all over the place. The more precise your objectives are, the more chance that you've got of making this all fit together really well. So, as I say, if you don't have an idea yet, it's not time to start worrying about it. There's another 3 or 4 weeks before you hit the panic button. The hand-in date is January, 18th of January, so that's fine. Just to reiterate what we will do to support you, obviously we'll answer questions online and so on in the normal way, but we do 2 additional things to support you. The first is we will agree with you a set of objectives, and as to what we need to do that, I'll come on to that in the next couple of slides. So when you start writing, you ought to be writing with the confidence that either Michael or myself have said what we think you are doing is sensible. So before you start the writing up process, what you need to be doing is engaging with us and saying, I'm thinking of doing this. This is what I'm seeking to achieve. What do you think? And that might be yeah, that's fine. Get on with it. Or alternatively, the opposite is we might say no, it's completely unsuitable because more often than not we'll kind of swap a couple of emails and refine them. So that's at an early stage. The second thing that we will do is that we will read and comment on a full draft. I emphasise it's a full draft. We cannot do it piecemeal, and we only do it once. So again, before you submit, you will have had some response on a complete draft of your work. So you ought to be submitting with a fair degree of confidence if you if you actually take advantage of those opportunities, and the fact that you're here, you're still awake at midnight or whatever time it is where you are, obviously indicates to us that you're the kind of people that would do that. So I don't particularly worry about you. But as you can see, we have a deadline which is the 11th of Jan, which is the week before the module. So there isn't a huge amount of time to make changes. So obviously, the earlier that you can get that in, the better. We will start. You can start to submit ideas now, and obviously the earlier the better. And in terms of the final draft, again, the earlier the better. I would say though that